Hello!
Hello, AOS fans!
It's the Agents of Embergard.
And in this video, we're looking at the brand new Rivals deck, the Realmstone Raiders.
Like the Realmstone Raiders.
I think that's the theme tune for this deck. I think it is. We've had tried a few different ones.
Yeah, that's the one that sticks best, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
So the Realmstone Raiders Rivals deck. What's interesting about it off the bat?
Well, I guess the first thing and most important thing is that it has a plot card.
And the second, probably very related thing is it's probably never going to be better than Countdown to Cataclysm to warrant taking it.
And even like Edge of the Knife. Edge of the Knife sometimes edges out. Countdown to Cataclysm, but I can't see anybody picking this one over Cataclysm. I'm sure there are people who are going to be out there. You'll see it's got some quite fancy shenanigans. I'm sure there are going to be some people who can make that work for them. But I think if you can, it's going to be quite high level and quite niche.
Yeah.
But we'll come on to that in a minute.
The thing that's niche about it is that you can modify or play around with and manipulate the power deck.
Ooh.
We've not seen that from GW.
I'm going to say that's never been seen before. I'm going to combined with the new Crohn's deck, which can manipulate the objective deck. That could be an interesting pairing. If you go and see a review on there for the Crohn's, I'm not sure it's going to be that good.
No.
But it potentially be interesting for somebody who likes those kind of mastery shenanigans and deck manipulation.
So the Realmstone Raiders plot is fairly straightforward.
I quite like the plot card as it goes on its own standalone. It's quite a nice idea.
Yep.
Basically, it keys off making successful attacks in the action step.
Yeah, and it's always the first attack.
In an action step.
Oh, an action
I don't know
step.
whether you can make...
Not sure you've ever...
A friendly fighter can make an attack in the opponent's action step, but it does say a friendly fighter makes an attack in an action step.
Yeah, and not the power step. So you can't use things...
Improvised attack.
Improvised attack's a classic one. You can't get those extra attacks out to benefit from it even further. So your very first attack in an action enables you to then do something.
And what is it? What is it? And it's quite important. It is can.
Yep.
You don't have to do it. And the more I play with the deck, the more I can maybe see there are times when you might not want to do it. But you can raid.
And what is raiding? Well, you have to have a successful attack. So that is important. It has to be a successful melee attack. That's extra important. So if you've got a war weapon, lots of range attacks in it, you really have to be careful to have the right fighters in the right place making those attacks. Your Ephelims and your Loon Court and stuff, they can struggle because they've got a lot of ranged attacks and not quite so many.
It's probably not a deck for fast riders.
No, probably not, but they do all at least have melee attacks at least, so there is that.
And on top of that, each time you make a successful attack, you can raid equal to the number of times equal to the bounty of the thing that you've attacked.
So if you hit a Stormcast, you might be able to raid 3 times.
But if you're playing Gits, you can only do it once.
Boo. So what is raiding? Well, it's simply taking the top card from your power deck and revealing it. That has then been raided.
And because you're raiding twice, you basically pick that card, decide what you want to do with it, then you pick the next card. You don't pick up 2. If it's a bounty characteristic of 2, you don't pick up 2.
Yeah.
You pick up 1, do the thing, and then pick another and do the thing again. Yeah. And what is the thing, Pete?
What is the thing indeed? Well, if that card does not have the Emberstone ploy or Emberstone upgrade on it, of which not all of them do, then basically it's just a regular card. So you maybe you've paired it with a Nemesis deck or something like that, or maybe it's one of the ones in here that don't have that keyword on it. You put it straight to the bottom of your deck. You can't do anything with it.
Can't do anything else. You can't use it. Can't put it back on the top. Goes straight to the bottom.
But if it has one of those Emberstone keywords on it, if it's a ploy, you can play it straight away if it's any good. If it's an upgrade, you can equip it if you've got the spare glory for it.
Yes, it's not free.
No.
You don't get it free, and you have to be able to obviously fulfill the conditions of the ploy to play it. But if you can't play it or you don't want to play it, either of them, you either can put it back on the top of the deck or you can put it on the bottom of the deck.
So that's important as well, because we'll come on to it in a while, but sometimes you do want to put those Emberstone cards on the bottom, and sometimes you do want to leave them on the top.
So as a quick overview of the cards themselves, the kind of makeup of them, the deck obviously has 12 objectives, but none of them are repeated from old cards. There's no repeated. They're all 12 brand new objectives.
And of the ploys, none of those are repeated again. They are all also completely brand new.
And the upgrades, it's quite interesting, there's 4 of them are repeated. They're quite good ones.
I'd say they're all great.
Yeah, they are great. They are indeed all great. You've got great speed, great fortitude, and great strength, all repeated in there. And Keen Eye. So that's a lot of glory.
That is a lot.
But it is also the 4 cards that you probably would always take if you had access to them. And the 6 remaining upgrades, they're all Emberstone upgrades.
And of the power cards, 6 of those are Emberstone and 4 of them aren't.
So basically 12 of your 20 are Emberstone upgrades or ploys.
So people can start doing the maths out there and what your odds are of picking up the cards and
You want
stuff
to go
like that.
and do your hypergeometric progressions.
Ooh. I mean, to start with, you're looking at, you're 60%, aren't you? 12 out of 20.
I just learned the word hypergeometric progression.
Of the objective deck, there are obviously 6 surge cards and 6 end phase cards.
All of
Every
the surge
single
objectives rely on you drawing Emberstone cards, ploys or upgrades. It doesn't ever matter which,
No.
but relies on you drawing
Raiding.
raiding them. I stress again, none of those is not just raiding cards. It has to be the Emberstone plot. So
Yeah.
if you it's a couple of them where you have to like do 2 cards or whatever. If you drew 2 non-Emberstone cards or even 1 non-Emberstone card and 1 Emberstone card, you
don't score it.
you couldn't score it. So
Yeah.
that's really key.
Of the 5 remaining end phase cards, it's interesting to see that none of them are 3 glory. They're either 1 or 2 glory, so it does spread the glory out a little bit more, which is nice.
Glory.
But 5 of those objectives rely on raiding cards. 2 of them don't care about whether they were Emberstone or not, but all the rest do.
And so there's one card that's not to do with raiding.
1 card.
Yeah, it's quite a good card actually, but we'll come on to that in a minute.
I think it's worth saying that looking at all the cards and on balance, we're not massively impressed with all of them in there.
All of them, or we're not impressed with any of them?
Any of them, to be honest. None of them.
I again, we've said this in our other video, we're not the best players. I'm sure there are people who are going to make the cycling of the cards work. It just seems overly complicated to me. We've kind of disagreed a little bit about this. I've come around to your idea of thinking that probably the way to score the objectives is not to ever play your cards and just keep cycling through. But who wants to do that?
No, exactly.
Who wants to be in a situation where you go, oh, I won't play that, I won't play that, I won't play that. And it's not that easy either.
No.
We'll come on to that in a minute. But I don't think, even if you did play them, I don't think any of them are that strong.
No, there's one in there that's a bit like a sidestep, but it's a rubbishy sidestep and has things about it. There's like one of the objectives is a bit like denial, but it's a rubbish denial, and another one's a bit like...
Critical risk is the classic example. I'm going to find it. Critical risk. Ooh. So critical risk. Score this immediately after raiding an Emberstone card. So done a successful attack.
Has to be successful melee.
But let's say it was against a 2-fighter warband. You drew 2, or the first one, and it was an Emberstone card. So this would qualify it if the preceding attack was successful and the attack roll included any crits. So we have a card which is like that, where you just have to roll crits.
And it doesn't even need to be successful.
No.
Called critical effort.
So that has 2 more steps, making it more difficult. 2 things that make it more difficult, and it's 1 glory.
It's pretty poor. Pretty poor.
Yeah.
You've also got problems where some of the cards are that you raid 2 Emberstone upgrades after successful attack. So again, you've got to make a successful melee attack. You've got to hit a 2 bounty fighter. You've then got to draw 2 Emberstone cards. Now the odds on that, I haven't done the maths to be honest.
Well, I have.
Oh, well there we go.
The chances, and the maths may be wrong, and it's not necessarily going to cover every eventuality, but I think this is right. So I looked up some hypergeometric regressions. You can find apps on the internet that work it out for you. So I had a look for the chance of drawing 2 Emberstone cards from just a 20-card deck. So before, just not worried about whether you've drawn your hand or whatever. Do 2 Emberstone cards, so there's 12 in the deck to start off with. It's 34.7. That's the chances of drawing 2 out of 2.
And that's 34.7 on top of having to make a successful melee attack, which could be not even 50% to start with.
If you were lucky enough to have 5 non-Emberstone cards in your hand, so there are only 15 cards left, and 12 of them, I think it goes up to 60%, over 60%.
Again, that's over 60% on an attack, and with that card that's got to be a critical as well.
Yeah.
So you could make a regular attack, it could go through. You could draw 2 cards, but you didn't roll that crit, so it sucks to be you.
But if you're unlucky enough to have 5 in your hand, then the odds would drop to 20%.
Oh, just horrific. We didn't do the numbers when we did our test of games. We said it can't be great. That just really, really highlights to me how bad it is.
Wrong. I may have used the formula wrong, but it is like that to a degree. And some of these 2 cards, Looted, Realmstone and Pillage, score this immediately after raiding 2 or more different Emberstone cards from the same melee attack. Score this immediately after raiding 2 or more different Emberstone cards after a melee attack if the target was in neutral or enemy territory. So this one is harder because this has to be in neutral enemy territory. This is just do it anywhere. They're the same glory score, and which again, really gets on my nerves.
It's got to be a successful melee attack.
Yep.
You've got to hit somebody that's got 2 bounty on and so on.
And you literally, more or less, can't score them if you're playing against Gits or Remarkable Guard, because you can only do 1 because their bounty's only 1.
Yeah. Now there is 1 card in this deck that can make them scoreable in that situation, and it is Raider's Rapture.
Yeah.
Now Raider's Rapture is a domain, and when you raid, you can reveal 1 additional card, and this persists until the end of the round or until a numbered domain is played.
So you have to have those in the hand while you have that in play.
Yeah, and the great thing is, this isn't an Emberstone card.
When he says great thing, he doesn't mean...
No, that's sarcastic. Because there are a couple of upgrades that enable you to do things after making attacks and things, and one of them is to pick up a discarded power card.
Yeah.
Now, that would be great, but it has to be an Emberstone card.
does.
And so you can't even pick this back up. So if you are fortunate enough to get this out in the first round, but then you don't get any of those lovely objectives out,
While playing gets.
you've either got to either keep hold of this for a whole nother round, or play it to try and help some of the other stuff you're doing. It's just really bad.
Yeah. So I found there's one in there you've got to have done 4.
Yeah.
I haven't worked out the odds of that. It's 4 in a round, but you can keep cycling through, but you can be in a situation where you put one on the bottom and then you play, and it gets towards the end of the round and you hit with your last round attack and you draw 2 cards, and let's just say for the sake of argument both of them are not Emberstone cards.
Yep.
So they have to both go to the bottom. And then you've played some cards around. So you've maybe got 2 cards left in your hand. So then you have to draw 3. You could easily just draw 3 Emberstone ploys or upgrades. And that's 3 of the 12. So once they're in your hand, they are no use to you whatsoever other than just as cards.
Yep. And this also has a problem that is quite unique to this deck. It's a shame that they're all problems that are unique to this deck and not benefits that are unique to this deck, in that if you lose the roll-off in a round, well, you've got to draw a card now.
Yeah.
I don't want to draw a card. Oh, look, I've picked up another Emberstone card. Awesome. My chances of scoring all my objectives have gone down a little bit more.
Yeah, so if you're playing against this deck, you don't actually have a choice, do you? But you want to be losing the roll, or you want to be winning the roll off, so that your poor old opponent has to draw a card.
Yeah, and this is the biggest problem I have with this deck, in that I love the mechanic, this idea of cycling through the cards and getting these Realmstone cards out. I dislike the fact that only 12 out of the 20 are Realmstone cards that can help you with at least 2/3, if not 3/4 or 4/5 of all your objectives. But I also really dislike the fact that you generally can't use the ability to play them most of the time. You're going to want to keep cycling them.
Until the end of the game.
Yeah, to the bitter end.
You won't want to play it because you have to keep drawing the cards. So, I mean, there are... Hoarder's Hovel is one card that you might take. I've gone off on a tangent here, but score this in end phase if any friendly fighters are holding a treasure token that has a value equal to their fighter's bounty characteristic. That is the only card that doesn't involve doing Emberstone things. Realmstone Raid, score this in end phase if you've raided 3 or more times after different friendly fighters attack this battle round. That's, you have to have made 3 successful attack actions in a round, which doesn't happen that often. Emberstone Stash, score this in end phase if you raided 4 or more different Emberstone cards this round. Rouse Violence, score this in end phase if the number of treasure tokens on the battlefield is equal to or less than the number of Emberstone cards you raided this battle round. That's not too bad.
But that highlights another problem with this deck, which is the bookkeeping element of it. Every time you raid a card, you've got to try and remember, was it an Emberstone card or not?
Yeah.
Because a lot of them will matter at the end of the round, but you're not necessarily going to remember in your first attack whether you raided 2 Emberstone cards or not.
This is a classic. Invade. Score this in end phase if you raided any Emberstone cards this battle round after a melee attack if the target was holding a treasure token. So you have to remember whether an attack you made...
In the first turn, possibly.
In the first turn, hit somebody and you raided and you got an Emberstone card.
And they were on objective.
If you drew this later...
Yeah,
you have to remember that. So that I really don't like this deck. I mean, as I said,
we're trying to be positive, but we're finding it tricky.
I suspect there are people who can make the shenanigans work, but
the problem for me as well with the bookkeeping element is it's not just a pain in the arse for you when you're playing with this deck. It's a slight negative experience for your opponent when you sit there and go, oh, I scored this objective for 2 glory because I attacked somebody on an objective and I raided an Emberstone. And they'll be like, when the fuck did that happen? I was playing my own game at that point. I have no idea if that's true or not. So you just have to kind of go, oh, okay. Whereas most other end phase cards, most of the time, like keep chopping, make 3 attacks. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Some of these can be really, really tricky to remember what's going on. Not just for you, but then also your opponent has to kind of be aware of it as well, or somebody who's a little bit less honest could just sort of go, oh yeah, I did that and I've scored that one, and it's going to make people just think, I'm not sure if they did, but I can't remember enough to be able to argue it.
Yeah, I mean, it has got quite nice cards in here. I mean, it has Fortune Faded. It's not an Emberstone card, but I quite like it. Pick a friendly fighter adjacent to an enemy fighter that is not vulnerable. Inflict 1 damage on both fighters.
Not a bad one.
Quite like that one.
But they can't be vulnerable, so it's not like you can do it, you're dead. And again, there's in the Rack and Ruin and in Countdown to Cataclysm, there's other cards that can do damage without having to damage you and possibly killing vulnerable fighters as well. So
Brightstone Vigor, I think, can potentially nice card. It's an Emberstone upgrade. and it has a reaction soothed by slaughter. Immediately after a successful attack made by this fighter, if the damage characteristic of the weapon used is greater than the save characteristic of the target, you can heal the attacker and discard this card. So that would be quite nice on a big fighter. If you're doing three, got a 3 damage fighter with a 3 damage attack, that's quite a nice card.
But it only heals you for 1, and then you discard it, and it's
yeah,
2
but
glory.
You can put it is 2 glory, but you can put it out again. That's what I quite like.
There is one card that enables you to draw 1 card out again, so you can only do it once.
Yes, but you can put it out again and then
heal 1.
and then heal 1. But it means you can do it twice because it's you basically get the glory back.
I've got a healing potion that will heal me for 2.
But not very often. Healing potion almost never heals for 2.
50-50
Yeah,
if
but
you're
no,
underdog.
you have to be the underdog.
Yeah, but if I'm always the underdog.
I almost never heal for 2. Yeah, it's not a brilliant card, but I quite like. I like the way.
I like
it
the
works.
idea of it. Yeah, I think that could have easily been a 1 glory card, and it would have been fine still.
It's got a couple of fairly standard ones. Emberstone ploys. Pick an enemy fighter, give that fighter a stagger token. Pick an enemy fighter adjacent to a fighter, give that fighter a move token.
That's a nice one. Give someone a move token because that can screw up their ability to charge and stuff.
It is quite a nice one, but you have to be adjacent, and it's one of those ones that you could draw, and you could have that card which you want to score for playing it, and you can't play it because you haven't got an adjacent fighter.
Not only that, there are war bands that have like that as a built-in ability in their war scroll card.
Another ploy, Raider's Premonition. Pick an objective card from your hand and put it on the bottom of your objective deck, then draw 1 objective card. That's quite nice.
I quite like
It's
that.
an Emberstone ploy, which, as we've discussed, you don't necessarily want to be playing because you need to try and keep your deck as full of them as possible.
And that is, for me, the main issue I have with it. The cards in there are okay. Some of them are quite nice. But generally, if you draw that, you probably don't want to play it and you want to put it back to the bottom of your deck. There's not many times, I think, where you're going to sit there and draw a card from Raiding and go, oh, I actually do want to play that now. Because the weight of suddenly not being able to score most of your objectives versus, oh, I can do a wound to somebody, you're always going to have to go for prioritising objectives.
Yeah, so we've got Call to Power here, which has got a reaction, Heed the Call. It's an upgrade. Immediately after a successful attack made by this fighter, you can draw 1 power card, then discard this card. Well, you don't want to.
No.
So
I don't want to draw a power card.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, you have to discard it afterwards. It's like, again, okay, I can draw a power card, which I don't want to do, I suppose.
I mean, Emberstone Edge is a weapon, range 1, 2 damage, 2 hammers, 1 damage. It has +1 attack dice if you raid in the same phase. It's 2 glory.
2 glory.
It's 2 glory, and it's a 3 hammer, 1 damage attack.
I mean, you could great strength it up 1. It doesn't prohibit you from
No, it doesn't.
altering it, but at most you can get it up to 3 hammers or maybe 4 hammers, 2 damage.
So, like I say, I'm sure somebody out there will make this work and we'll have to eat our words, but I, in no circumstances, could see why you would ever take this and not take Countdown to Cataclysm as Cataclysm stands.
Even if Countdown to Cataclysm has several of its most obvious cards forsaken, I probably would still go for that over this, because the issue that underpins all this is that if you want to go for this, you need to go heavy on the Emberstone cards.
Yeah.
So you probably need to take all 12 of the Emberstone cards to give you any kind of decent odds.
Yeah.
Which means you then need to go pretty heavy on the objectives as well.
Yeah.
Because if you only take a few of those objectives, they may not come out at the same time. So you get all your Emberstone ones early, you get all your objectives late. It screws up.
Yeah,
so you need to go big.
there is no point in going in half measures, I don't think.
No.
You basically have to do everything.
And I think when we looked through all of the Surge cards, they're all bad. None of them are great.
Not all bad. Like the one for having to do 2 cards is not bad if you're fighting Morgox.
Yeah.
But it's terrible if you're fighting Gits.
Yeah. If you haven't got Raider's Rapture out, you're stuffed.
Yeah, that's 2 cards.
Raider's Rapture is fantastic if you can get it out, because you can reveal 1 additional card when you raid, which means every time you raid you pick up 2 cards, and then you've got, so if you hit Morgoth or someone like that and you're suddenly drawing 6 cards, you can burn through your deck really quickly then, but you need this card.
You can burn through your deck really quickly, but it's almost futile because...
Well, you're only doing it to score objectives, aren't you?
But you're only putting the cards back on the bottom. Because there is no way of improving the consistency of the deck, because you can't take out...
you can't skip any of them around.
You can't take
non
non-Emberstone cards out other than drawing them through normal ways you draw.
No.
So you would never know what to focus with this deck, because you can end up reducing your chances of getting out Emberstone cards.
Yep.
So the only time you can draw cards is between rounds, and even then there's no guarantees. But you can't make the deck more concentrated.
No, there's no way to sort of go, all right, I'll take this one. Oh, that's an Emberstone. I'll put that to the bottom. I'll take this one. Oh, that's not an Emberstone. Okay, I'll use that one this round.
There's no way of doing that. You can put the Emberstone back on the top, and I have done that a couple of times, because then you know you've increased the odds for when you have got the objectives. But you don't know what the other one. There's no way of finding out what the one underneath is, so you can still go horribly wrong.
Yeah. You can give yourself slightly improved odds on those cards where you need to draw 2 Emberstone cards after doing a thing. But you still don't improve it that well because you still don't know what that second card is.
And in case you're wondering, often it's when you do the cards, it's 2 different cards. So you can't go, oh, I raid this one, and then I put it back on the top, oh, I raid it again. You can't do that. It has to be 2 different cards.
Yeah, which is good that they thought that people might do that, but it's bad because this deck has literally so little ability about it. Like that would almost, it feels like it needs that just to make it a bit more possible.
Yeah. So, what do you think? What are we missing? Are we missing anything? Is this deck as bad as it looks?
Yeah, I'm not impressed by it. I can't think of a single warband that I want to take it with, because even when I try and think about the positives of, oh, you just need to make attacks and cycle through your deck and you're just going to score loads of objectives without even trying, it's going to be cake.
Yeah.
You've still got to make those attacks. You've still got to hit.
I'd like to pair it with the new elves, but can you imagine how frustrating it would be when you missed because you couldn't inspire the elves and you don't get to raid?
You don't get to raid either.
So it would just be like, oh, I had enough. But the shenanigans there, because they can look through the objective deck, and you can. There's a couple of cards here for looking through the objective deck, or at least one card. And you've got the power deck shenanigans. Could be quite interesting. I feel like they've had this really good idea. They want to do this thing of deck manipulation, but they're really worried about making it overpowered.
Yeah,
because it really could be overpowered, really,
especially in Nemesis.
And so at the end, they've pulled the punches. I mean, people will take it because there's people out there who do
people that are thirsty for challenges,
crazy things. But I'm sure in 3 months' time would have been proved wrong. Somebody would have won golden ticket.
Probably
with this deck scoring 24 glory in each game.
And yeah.
So if you do know how to do that, then do write in to the Age of Sigmar and let us know
Leave
how.
a comment below. Yeah. Now, all of this comes with the proviso that I think when we reviewed the initial 4 decks, we went through Countdown to Cataclysm and we said this is a bit rubbish.
Yeah.
And look at where it is now. It's an absolutely broken deck. But I think that experience has taught us to look beyond the top level of what these cards do. But even when we've tried to come up with how could this be broken, we've tried and we can't think of anything. So maybe
I'm not very good at doing that. And I think we were concentrating more on Rivals there. As Cataclysm isn't a great Rivals deck. We've played with the new Warband and with the new deck, so we haven't done a load with it. And the first game you're just learning it, and so we probably have missed some stuff. I don't think I took all of the Emberstone ploys in the Nemesis game, partly because I haven't quite realised how reliant on drawing them and how difficult it is to actually manipulate it to draw them if you haven't got a full complement. And
I remember the game I played, I took Loon Court, and I think when I picked my starting hand, I had like 4 Emberstone cards, and I was like, awesome, Emberstone cards, here we go. Did not want that. And also, lots of my melee fighters died, so I had lots of range fighters. Like, I've made an attack. Oh, it's a range attack. Oh, God, that's so annoying. Yeah,
so that's really something to work out. You do want to put your Emberstone cards back into your deck if you draw lots.
Yeah, and you do want to just... and then the other thing was, every time I drew one, it was an Emberstone. Like, oh, I'm going to play that. Oh, yeah, I'm going to play that. And then I got towards the end, like, I've got no cards left. I've got a load of objectives. I just can't score. Yeah. But even if you know what you're doing... Even if you heed what we're saying now and you take a warband that's highly accurate, lots of aggro, hits loads, you don't play any of the cards, you keep drawing them and all that kind of stuff, you come up against Gits and you're fucked.
That's pretty much the same point, of course, anyway.
Well, that is true. That is true.
No, you're absolutely right, though. You are. And I just cannot imagine a situation where you wouldn't think, oh, I'll just take Jaws with Blazing Assault and Countdown to Cataclysm. I just can't see it.
Competitively, I don't think this deck's going to cause a lot of ripples, and we obviously could be wrong. We've already said many times we're probably wrong on that one. But even as a standalone Rivals deck, this has too much feel bad to make it something I'd consider. Yeah. Even below Countdown to Cataclysm, which is a fairly ropey Rivals deck.
I mean, from a deck building perspective, you've almost, in this deck, you might as well just take all 10 upgrades. Because the 4 upgrades that aren't Emberstone are really good.
Yeah, I can't see why you wouldn't take those 4 upgrades. No. So, you take all of them.
So it's quite good from that perspective. It's really easy to deck build.
Yeah, you take all 10 of the upgrades, you take the 6 power cards, you have to take Raider's Rapture as well, even though it's not an Emberstone card, just so that you might get that extra draw. And if you're doing that, you better take all 12 of these. So let us know in the comments below, what do you think? Are we completely maligning what is an amazing deck? Have we missed something really obvious that makes this superb? Or do you agree, is this just dead in the water?
Yeah, what are you going to try with it? What ideas have you got for making it work? let us know so we can try and put them into action.
So don't forget to click that like button.
And click that subscribe button. And if you do want to, you can look on Patreon. You can see all our preliminary games to see how we came up with these things, and you can see what we did wrong and where it didn't work and all that kind of stuff. So if you support us on Patreon, that's all going to be live with already straight away when these are up. And then obviously you'll get all future Patreon games, and you can join our Discord and chat to us about the game and tell us in person why we don't know what we're talking about.
So we'll see you soon, probably in the Embergard.